Thank you for joining us. An exploding migrant population, exacerbating a pre-existing housing crisis, inflation and wage pressure, stressing local budgets. These are just a few of the issues facing cities and towns across the Commonwealth right now that are front and center on the radar of our guest this week, the newly appointed Executive Director of the Massachusetts Municipal Association, Adam Chapdelain. Adam, welcome.
Thank you, John.
Good to have you here. Out of the frying pan and into the fire for you, but we appreciate it. So by the time this interview airs, the legislature will have passed and Governor Healey will have signed a major new package of tax cuts. It's expected to cost the state over the next couple of years about $1 billion or more. I don't ever remember a time when the MMA wasn't arguing for more local aid from the state. So in light of that, are these tax cuts a good idea from the point of view of the cities and towns?
So it's a good question. I think that, I know the governor is very proud of, the legislature is very proud of trying to balance economic competitiveness with these tax cuts, sort of balanced up against the fair share amendment that was passed last year. I would say local government is always in need of more revenue. So whether or not that's from existing revenues or the need to look at new ways of raising revenue, local government does need to continue to have adequate funding to provide essential services. If you go back 40 years, 1980, Proposition 2.5 came into play. All that time ago created a very austere local government funding environment. Fast forward to 2008, 2009, significant cuts in local aid. Fast forward to today, in terms of unrestricted general government aid, we're still dollar for dollar less than we were in 2009. So yes, local government is always going to be in need of further revenues to provide the essential services.
Do you think it's time to revisit Proposition 2.5?
So that's a loaded one. It's a loaded one to do because it's a stable form of revenue, but also a very limited form of revenue. As a general answer, I would say yes. I would love to, in this new role, find a way to more deeply look at Prop 2.5 and get our hands around whether or not it's up to the challenges of the 21st century.
What kind of reform did you have in mind?
Well, should 2.5 be 3.5? Should 2.5 be a different number? Maybe that's one angle. Maybe it's a more concrete form of revenue sharing with the state. Governor Baker committed to and really held through on a revenue sharing package, matching up local aid increases with what the state was seeing in new monies. So far, the Healey-Driscoll administration has been doing the same. Maybe there's a more robust version of that.
Lower the threshold for voter approval of an override?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's a majority right now, majority of the populace.
Yeah.
Could town meeting do it? Could a city council do it? I don't know that I'm ready to propose that, but okay. I think those could be ideas that are on the table.
Just this week, state officials began regular meetings with local officials about the migrant situation, which is overwhelming some of our cities and towns. There have been bitter complaints from the state about a lack of information and responsiveness from the feds. Quite a few complaints from the local level about the same from the state. Is this situation anywhere near under control or not?
I don't know that anybody would say it's under control. I think there's a lot of people working very hard to try to get their hands around and managing the situation. We're trying to serve as a conduit between the administration and the local governments that are being impacted. And I know the administration is being very forthcoming with us. And in turn, we're trying to communicate that down to the membership. Had a chance to actually hear from the governor yesterday. And she is very much saying this is decades of failed federal immigration policy that's coming home to Massachusetts to roost. And there's really not a great way to argue with that. It does seem to be the case.
Well, Adam, we've got to take a break, but very briefly, the governor, the House Speaker, the Senate President, they're all glued to this interview, as they are every week. Okay, I don't know for sure if they are, but they should be. You have their attention. What's sort of the #1 thing you need from them to help deal with this situation?
Keep working with us, and tied into that, really think hard about the financial impacts on communities in hosting these families.